All right, let's jump right in. I want you to imagine something for a second. What if our most ambitious, most sustainable, high-performance building designs didn't have to constantly fight against the budget? What if, from the very beginning, they were actually partners? That's the huge idea we're going to unpack today.
You know, for as long as anyone can remember, this has felt like the fundamental conflict in construction, right? You've got this grand, beautiful vision, and then, bam, the real-world budget comes crashing in. But does it have to be a conflict? Is this fight really necessary, or is there a much smarter way to build?
Well, to answer that, let's just put two very different ways of working side by side. On one hand, you've got the traditional process. Estimating happens way too late, the teams are all working in their own little silos, and pretty much everyone is just reacting to problems. Then you have the integrated process. It starts early, it's holistic, and it's proactive. And folks, this shift is a total game changer.
So let's dig into that. Where does the old way go so wrong? Well, it all starts with this one core problem, what we call the design-budget disconnect. This is the root cause of so many headaches in the construction world.
I mean, just think about it. The architects and designers, they spend months, maybe even years, creating this brilliant plan. And then, at the very end of the process, it gets handed over to an estimator who's basically just a price checker at that point. Of course the cost is too high. And what comes next is just this painful, frustrating cycle of cuts and compromises that leaves everybody unhappy.
So to fix a problem this fundamental, we don't just need a new process or a new checklist. We need an entirely new design philosophy, a completely different way of thinking about what good design even means.
And that brings us to this one. Single, incredibly powerful idea that just flips the whole script. High-performance design is good design. Now, this isn't just some clever saying, it's a profound statement. It means a building's performance isn't just an add-on or a luxury, it is the definition of good design.
And what does that mean in the real world? It means you stop treating things like energy efficiency or the health of the indoor environment or the budget as these separate things that you have to trade off against each other. Instead, they all become interconnected parts of one single unified goal, creating an amazing building.
So, a powerful philosophy is great, but how do you actually put it into action? Well, that brings us to what's known as the integrated approach. This whole approach really boils down to three key characteristics. First, it's holistic. It looks at the entire project as one big system, not just a bunch of isolated parts. Second, it's integrative, which means bringing all the different teams, especially the estimators, together right from the very beginning. And third, it is data-driven. It relies on real numbers and hard analysis, not guesswork.
So here's what that looks like in practice. Step 1, you start early. I mean, really early. The cost estimators are in the room from the very first concept sketch, helping to shape the design. Step 2, you use advanced software to model how every little choice affects everything else, from energy costs to carbon emissions. And 3, you iterate. You're constantly testing and refining the design to find the absolute best result.
Now, I really want to focus on that idea of iterative modeling because it is absolutely crucial. This is not a design at once and hope for the best kind of thing. It's a continuous feedback loop. You make a small tweak to the design, you run the data to see how it impacts cost and performance, and then you do it again and again and again. With every single cycle, you get a little bit closer to that perfect optimal solution.
Okay, so you do all this integrated work up front. What's the big payoff? Well, it's simple. You end up building smarter, not just harder. And the results? They are incredibly compelling.
The benefits are, honestly, everything you could ever hope for in a project. You get buildings with optimized energy use, which means lower bills for decades. You get better indoor environmental quality, so healthier air for the people inside. You get reduced carbon emissions, which is great for the planet. But here's the real kicker. All of this happens while meeting project schedules and, you guessed it, sticking to the project budget.
And that is why we call it a holistic victory. It's not about making a trade-off. You're not sacrificing the budget to get sustainability or cutting quality to hit a deadline. By integrating everything from the start, you actually raise the bar for every single one of these metrics. It's a genuine win across the board.
So let's zoom out for a second. What does all this really mean for the bigger picture? Well, it points to a really fundamental shift in how we approach the entire process of design and construction.
Look, this integrated, data-driven method isn't just some niche technique for a few fancy projects. This is the future.
This is the new standard for how we build intelligently, how we build responsibly, and how we create truly high-performance, sustainable buildings that don't break the bank.
So I'm going to leave you with this question to think about. Imagine the massive, cumulative effect, the impact on our cities, our energy use, our health, our planet, if every single new building, from this day forward, was designed this way from the very start. Just think about the kind of future we could build then.